We haven't done a garden update in a few weeks or a month or so I figured I'd do one. Say good morning to the geese. Say good morning, geese. But yeah, the garden's been doing great. As you may have seen on the news, we here in Vermont have had some pretty substantial rains. Our town, at the bottom of our driveway and to the left, had some really substantial flooding. A lot of people have their houses basically totally ruined. It's a very sad state down there. So, all that rain, of course, has been just inundating us for a couple weeks. And yeah, it has caused the garden to get a little crazy. Us being able to get out here every day and work on the garden has been inhibited, just because I don't really want to stand out here in the pouring rain working on the garden, just because it's uncomfortable. We did come out a couple times during the rains to work on things, but yeah, it has definitely caused some weeds to go a little crazy, and I have some cleanup work to do. But in the grand scheme of things, considering what people have been dealing with throughout the state of Vermont, we're pretty lucky. We live up on a hill, so because of that, we've stayed fairly dry. We haven't had any direct impacts from the storms. So once again, we consider ourselves really lucky. We hope that all those people that were impacted, can make it through okay. So anyway, back to the garden tour. First off, beans are doing really well over here. You can see a little bit of weeds in there. I do still need to pull out, but not doing bad. We had a pretty bad outbreak of squash bugs, the little striped ones that came around a couple of days back. I don't know, right after the heavy rains. We had them. I noticed that some of these plants were really getting tore up. So you can see here, like these leaves were really damaged by them. But I think I got that under control. I did have to spray a little bit, but not too bad. And it looks like most of the squash bugs are gone now. So hopefully that stays that way. These three here are our summer squashes. They look like they're coming along pretty well. These cucumbers over here have just really not taken very well. I don't know what's the deal with these. They got attacked by some squash bugs as well, but these vines just have not done well. That's all right though. Our pumpkins and our winter squashes are doing terrific though. I don't know if you can see that vine there, but that vine has got to be at least 12, 15 feet long at this point. Nice and long. I believe that we're starting to get some female flowers in here. Let's see, I thought I saw one earlier. Maybe I didn't. Oh yeah, there we go. So yeah, starting to get some female flowers in here. So we should have some fruits on these squash plants soon, which would be great. These guys tend to take a little bit to get going in the summer. Totally expected. It's, just the middle of July right now, early part of the middle of July. So having these not be fully fruited out yet is completely normal for this area, just because we have such cold springs. But yeah, these guys are all looking great. It's interesting. Some of these here look a little bit more to be like bush type squash than these pumpkins over here that are definitely long and viney. And then the corn, as I mentioned, some of the weeds have gotten a little out of control. I do need to get in here and weed, but the corn's doing well. The corn has popped up. We're probably at about 3 feet for most of these. Some of them are smaller, like these guys here on the edge. But not doing terrible. They're doing all right. See what we get out of there. Now, you have to excuse the mess with the weeds, but here's our peppers. The peppers actually have been doing really, really well from the rain. The rain has definitely done them good. We've got a lot of little fruits in there. These are more bush beans. The bush beans are doing well as well. You can see we've got a bunch of flowers in here now. So these are purple beans. Actually, you can see some small beans in there. I don't know if you can make those out, but yeah, we're starting to get beans on the fruits, or on the plants, so that's great. These guys are finally starting to produce. The potatoes are just gone crazy. I can't even explain. So this is 2 rows. 1 row was here, 1 row was here. They have just gone absolutely nuts. I guess next year I'm gonna have to put a fence around them or something just to keep them together. The the potato bugs, we were able to control, and everything started coming back just fine. Then of course we had the flush of the little larvae that come out, because of course you're going to miss some, right, like you always do. And then of course those ones lay eggs, and those eggs hatch. The potatoes otherwise are doing really well. You can see in our rows here, I have to run down through with the hoe and clean out some of these weeds. The weeds have once again gotten a little out of hand. Just yesterday, the wife and I came through, and we started tying up some of the tomatoes, because the tomatoes grew just like a banshee when this rain was going, and we couldn't get out here to tie them up as well as we would like to, and they just went nuts. I mean, they went from, I don't know, 3 feet to like 5 in the course of a week and a half. But you can see down there, we have lots and lots of tomatoes coming in, lots and lots and lots. And that's across the board, whether it's those plants or it's these ones in front of me or the ones on the next row or the row behind me. You can see here, more tomatoes, right? There are just tomatoes on the vine everywhere. We have tomatoes coming out of our noses, which is great. This is what we want. You know, we wanted lots of tomatoes. We like to can them. So we're looking forward to some nice harvests. So this is a row of mostly paste tomatoes, and this is a row of mixed tomatoes. So we'll have some cherries like this guy in here. We'll have some bigger ones. Those are striped. I think those are Berkeley tie-dyes. Some just regular eating tomatoes here. And then we are starting to get some, you know, disease pressure. That's pretty normal for tomatoes as well, especially after a ton of rain. But you can see we have more paste tomatoes down there. We'll be starting to cut off some of those diseased leaves and try to keep these plants going as long as possible. But, you know, that's just part of growing tomatoes. Tomatoes tend to get disease. It's just what happens. It doesn't matter where you live. It seems to be the case. But as you can see, once again, we have tomatoes pretty much everywhere you look. So the tomato plants are doing outstanding. I can't speak about how happy we are with the size and the productivity so far. We haven't harvested any tomatoes, of course, because it's still really early in the season for us. But as you can see, we have tomatoes, you know, growing like mad. So that's great. We also have, you know, potatoes that these guys, as I mentioned earlier, just grew like nuts. Harvesting these is going to be interesting. We're just going to have to wait for them to start dying back, right? Because that's basically how you know when they're ready. So they start dying back. And then once they start dying back, we will be able to get them out. So I've picked a few potatoes. We've gone in there and, you know, just dug a couple out when we needed potatoes for dinner. And they've been great. So down on that end is some purple potatoes. We've picked a few of those. One other thing we've been doing is there's a patch of blueberries over there, and we have been picking blueberries. I think so far we've picked close to, I don't know, 8 or 10 pounds of blueberries. Yeah, I think it's like 8 or 10 pounds. Just so many blueberries on those bushes right there. The previous owners must have planted them a decade ago or so. I don't know, maybe when the house was first built. So the house is 10 years old, so probably right around a decade ago. Because those bushes are all well over 6 feet tall, and they are just laden with berries. And the berries are delicious, so we're really happy to have those. Next up is our Brussels sprouts. The Brussels sprouts are doing well. You can see we're getting little sprouts on the inside there, and even more on this one. There you go, some Brussels sprouts in there, pretty nice. We're excited for those. We've got a couple of volunteer potatoes that I did not plant. So this one, that one, and that one. Those we didn't plant, they just showed up, so that's interesting. I've never had potatoes volunteer, especially when I didn't plant potatoes the year before. But somehow there were potatoes here from last year, and they started growing. Cabbages we've been harvesting. We've already harvested several cabbage out of the garden. This entire area was full of cabbages, and we've taken them all out and eaten them. They've been delicious. We've gotten 4 so far. There's 2 more down there. These purple ones are looking good. This one right here is looking good. An interesting thing that we've never had before, it looks like this one is going to go to seed. I've never had a cabbage bolt before, but that looks like what's happening there. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm gonna kind of let it go and see what it looks like. And then this one's looking really good too. This one here and this one here, these purple ones are a pretty small variety, so I think those are actually getting pretty close to being ready to pick. And then we have the biggest collards that I have ever seen. These collards, the leaves are easily 2.5 feet long, some of them 3 feet long. They're gigantic, and we have lots and lots of them. The collards are terrific, and they've been doing great. Same with the kales. Our kale has just done a bumper crop this year. I'm actually going to post on our local town's Facebook page today to see if anybody would like some kale, because we cannot keep up with it. There is just so much. One thing I will say that we've had a problem with is Japanese beetles. We've had lots of those this year. And the snails have decided to find our garden. So I got to keep taking those guys out. But outside of the small amount of bug pressure there, it hasn't been a problem. Any dry time that we've had, I've come out and sprayed these guys with BT once every 10 days or so. And it has kept most of the worms at bay. These are turnips. We've been harvesting turnips like crazy. As I've mentioned before, my wife and I don't really love turnips. So we grow these for the greens for the chickens. But they've just done so well that we've also just been harvesting them and putting them in soup and stuff if we make anything to try and eat them. But try to give some of those away as well. Next up is these giant cabbages. These are, I forget the name. They're from Baker Creek. Something... I don't remember the name, but they're a big cabbage. They're supposed to get like 5 to 10 pounds, and these guys are definitely much bigger than these other green ones. You know, these ones are smaller. These are getting close, so these will be like 3 or 4 pounds, 2 to 4 pounds. These will be much bigger. These guys are already, I would say, if I cut that one off right now, it's probably at 5 pounds, maybe a little bigger. We also threw some radishes in right here just to kind of fill in a spot. What I'm thinking I'm going to do here is in the next couple of days, probably this weekend, I'm going to put beets in here again and just fill in this space to kind of take it up. And then once I get these guys out, I'll put some more cabbages here. And then, of course, those cabbages will come out as well in the next few weeks because they're getting close to being ready. So that will be as well. Some more cabbage will go in there to backfill for the rest of the year. And once again, as you can see, another snail. So these snails really have been a problem. They started showing up. So if you want to see what a Colorado potato beetle larva looks like, that's it right there. You might think that that is a ladybug, but it's not. It's like a little nasty grub that will eat away at your plants and will cause all of this leaf damage. So the leaf damage happens from the larva coming out and chewing up on the leaves. Those Colorado potato beetles really are a problem, but pretty much under control at this point. So finally, we've got kale. And as you can see, we have more Japanese beetle pressure in here. So the Japanese beetles are just a hassle every summer in Vermont. There's not much that you can do about it. We can put these little traps up. They're yellow. You hang them from a pole somewhere, and somehow, I don't know exactly why, but the beetles are attracted to it and they'll go fall into it and die. I probably should get a couple of those because the beetles are getting a little out of hand. And these are the kind of things you want to take care of, you know, before it becomes too late. And once again, another snail. I don't know where these snails come from, but we definitely end up with lots of them. All right. So finally, we've got kale. Multiple varieties. As I mentioned, we have more kale than we could probably ever eat, so I need to start giving some of this away. I'm really surprised at how well the kale has grown this year. You can see by looking at the bottoms that we've harvested a bunch off of it, and it just keeps growing. That's how, you know, the kale works. You just keep harvesting from the bottom, and it'll keep putting on new leaves for you. We can start taking off some of these yellower leaves at the bottom too and giving them to the chickens. The chickens do enjoy eating them. The geese, not so much. The geese, I would have thought, would have liked them, but they're not really crazy about it. They really like romaine lettuce, and that's pretty much it. All right, well, like I said, I wanted to just kind of give a quick update on the garden. Hadn't done one in a while. It is definitely coming along. The summer has been treating us well. We've got a lot of rain, keeping the plants healthy, keeping everything growing. Maybe a little too much rain where we've got some weed problems that I need to take care of here over the next couple of days, but we're supposed to have a dry weekend, so hopefully I can get on that and get some of these weeds knocked back. But for now, I think that's going to be it. We'll find out where Zed ran off to. He's probably down looking at the cows. know if you saw the short, but we have cows on our property. There's a couple of them. The neighbor has a cattle operation, and he asked if we would be willing to let him run his cattle on some of our pasture in exchange for some meat in the future. And we took him up for sure on that offer, because now I don't have to mow that pasture. So they're on the right side of our driveway now going down, and in a couple days they're going to be on the left side. He had already started putting up some fence over there. Pretty nice. But yeah, I'm betting Zed's down there somewhere. He loves to go stand around and look at those cows. So go find him, head in and start my work day. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed seeing the midsummer update here of the garden. Check back in as things come along. Have a good one.